He looked her in the eyes and said, "Money over family. That's just who I am, Lena." Then he turned his back and walked into his waiting car, disappearing into the flashing city lights. 6 years later, at a children's charity gala he barely wanted to attend, he saw her again, and with her stood two little girls, both with his eyes. Lena's fingers trembled as she held the manila envelope in her hands. Her breath hitched, and her heart threatened to hammer through her chest. She had rehearsed this moment 100 times in her head, but none of those imagined scenes matched the reality of standing outside his glass-walled office on the top floor of Reeves Innovations. The secretary gave her a sympathetic glance as she buzzed in. "He's in between meetings. You have 5 minutes." That's all she needed, maybe less, when the elevator doors opened and she stepped onto the sleek marble floor. She found him by the window, back turned, city sprawling below him like a kingdom. Adam Reeves, youngest tech billionaire in the state, the face of success, the man she once thought she'd grow old with. He turned when he heard her steps. "Lena," he said, surprised but not displeased. His tone held curiosity, like seeing an old colleague, not someone who once shared his bed, his secrets, and her heart. "I need to talk to you," she said, voice barely above a whisper. Adam smiled, polite and distant. "Of course, always nice to see you. You look good." There was a pause. She placed the envelope on the glass table. "Please read this." But he didn't reach for it. He sat down instead, resting his wristwatch on the table with a soft clink. "Is it a job application? Or wait, are you here about the charity fund?" Lena blinked. "No, Adam, I'm pregnant." The air seemed to shift. He didn't move, didn't blink, didn't speak for a long second. Then he leaned back, folding his hands like he was preparing for a negotiation. "I see, you see," she echoed, incredulous. "Lena," he said carefully, "we weren't exclusive. You know that. I told you from the start, this life I live, it's not built for family. I've made choices that don't include slowing down or settling down." "I'm not asking you to slow down," she whispered. "I'm telling you this because you deserve to know." Adam stood. "I appreciate the honesty, really, but I can't be who you want me to be. I've built everything from nothing. I can't throw that away for something I never planned." She flinched. He walked to the elevator and pressed the button without looking back. "You're smart. You'll figure it out. Money comes before family for me. It always will. I'm sorry." That was the last thing he said before the elevator closed and took him away again. That night, Lena walked home in the rain. No umbrella, no strength left to care. Just a woman with new life growing inside her, and no one to call. Her mother had passed away 2 years ago. Her father was never in the picture, and her friends, most were part of Adam's circle, fair weather types who never truly belonged to her. She sat on the edge of her bathtub that night, still in her wet clothes, holding her stomach. "I'll do this," she whispered. "We'll be okay, I promise." And just like that, something inside her changed. The next day, she packed her things and moved into a low-income rental apartment on the outskirts of the city. 1 bedroom, cracked walls, no hot water sometimes. But it was hers. The job hunt was brutal. Morning sickness made interviews nearly impossible. Still, she got hired at a small flower shop, not glamorous, not even steady, but it paid just enough to keep the lights on. She worked days, studied nights. Her dream of starting a small online business selling handmade crafts was still alive, but it had to wait. She was focused now only on survival. And then came the night she felt the first kick. It was tiny, a flutter really, but it felt like a miracle. She broke down crying on the living room floor, both hands on her belly, whispering, "You're not alone. I'm still here." The twins came earlier than expected, both girls. Lena had been alone in the taxi when her water broke. The driver panicked, but she stayed calm. She had to. By the time they got to the hospital, she was already 8 centimeters dilated. No epidural, no partner, no support. Just grit. Emma was born first, screaming and strong. Avery followed. Minutes later, quiet, observant, with piercing gray eyes that reminded Lena of Adam. They were perfect, and they were hers. The hospital discharge papers listed only her name. She didn't even consider writing his. Lena named them after her grandmother and favorite author. to women who never gave up. Just like her, motherhood was nothing like the glossy magazines. It was cracked nipples, sleepless nights, colic, and chaos. Some nights she cried quietly on the bathroom floor, whispering apologies to her daughters for the things she couldn't give them, but she never gave up. She started making handmade baby clothes and accessories, selling them through a tiny Etsy shop. Orders were slow at first, then one customer left a glowing review, then another. Soon, she was working late into the night after feeding the girls, stitching until her fingers cramped. After a year, she moved to a better apartment. After 2, she hired her first part-time helper, and all the while, she never told a soul who the father was. Adam Reeves was soaring. Forbes cover. International expansion. Billionaire by 32. But something strange was happening to him. He wasn't sleeping well. His relationships fast, empty. The applause was loud, but the silence after was unbearable. Sometimes he'd think about her. The way her voice shook when she told him. The way she didn't beg, didn't scream. Just stood there strong, proud, honest, and something would ache inside him. But he buried it, like he buried everything else that made him feel. He was forced to attend a charity gala one evening. His PR team insisted it would be good for his image. The event was for a local nonprofit supporting children's literacy. He barely paid attention to the speeches until he heard a voice from the stage. Soft, clear, familiar. He looked up and time stopped. Lena. Standing at the microphone, thanking donors for supporting her small business that partnered with the nonprofit to donate handmade children's books and crafts. She looked radiant, poised, stronger than he remembered, and beside her stood 2 little girls, maybe 5, maybe 6, holding her hands. Both had soft blonde hair. One had his eyes, the other his smile. Adam's world tilted. The moment his eyes landed on her, the noise of the crowded gala vanished. Adam Reeves had been surrounded by investors, reporters, and influencers, but now, none of them existed. Only her. Lena. She hadn't changed in the way he expected. Yes, her hair was longer now, pulled into a graceful bun, and she wore a flowing, navy dress that looked elegant yet simple. But the biggest change wasn't something physical. It was the presence she carried. She looked strong, peaceful, complete, and she wasn't alone. 2 little girls stood beside her on stage. One clutched Lena's hand, bouncing slightly on her heels. The other glanced shyly toward the crowd, her eyes searching the room with curiosity. Their matching dresses, their golden hair, their innocent energy. It was like watching a mirror of something he never knew he had lost. No, something he had walked away from. His throat tightened. He gripped the edge of the table in front of him, trying to control the sudden rush of heat in his chest. He had prepared speeches for boardrooms and battled CEOs with billion-dollar egos, but nothing could have prepared him for this. She hadn't seen him yet, or if she had, she gave no sign. He watched as Lena spoke, her voice calm and steady. 6 years ago, I had nothing but hope and 2 newborns in my arms. I didn't know how I was going to make it, but I knew I had to try for them. This nonprofit helped me during my darkest hours, giving me a place to breathe, a place to heal. And now, I'm proud to give back and show my daughters what community, love, and resilience can build. The audience clapped, but Adam sat frozen. Daughters, plural. It was real. They were his. His heart pounded harder than it had in years. He stood slowly, barely aware of his own legs moving. His assistant tried to ask where he was going, but he waved her off and walked toward the side of the ballroom. Watching Lena step down from the stage with the girls, he had to speak to her, had to explain, apologize, do something, anything. He couldn't just disappear again. But the moment he got close enough to call her name, he stopped. She was crouched down now, tying one of the girls' shoelaces. Her daughters giggled, whispering secrets in her ears, and she smiled so warmly it made his chest ache. He was witnessing something pure. Something he had no part in, and suddenly, he felt like an outsider in a life that could have been his. One of the girls spotted him first, the one with his eyes. She tilted her head, studying him like she recognized something about him. He offered a soft smile. But Lena stood, turned, and when she saw him, everything in her face went still. Their eyes met. It lasted less than a heartbeat, but it felt like forever. She didn't look surprised or angry, just calm, as if she had already lived this moment in her mind many times before. She gave a small, polite nod, took her daughter's hands, and began to walk past him. He stepped forward. "Lena," he said, almost breathlessly, "please, wait." She paused. The girls looked up at her, then at him, curious. She didn't speak. Right away, she glanced down at her daughters and said gently, "Why don't you go with Miss Rosa for a snack?" A volunteer from the event approached and took them kindly by the hands. When they disappeared around the corner, Lena turned back to him. Her voice was calm. "You're here." He nodded, swallowing hard. "I didn't know you'd be." "You didn't know I'd be what?" she asked, still composed. "A person who survived. A woman who raised 2 children without you." His eyes dropped. "I deserve that." "Yes," she said, softly, "you do." There was silence. He looked up again. "I was wrong. I thought I had to choose between building something and being someone to someone. I thought love made you weak. But I see now, I was the weak one." Lena's expression didn't change. "I don't expect you to. Forgive me," he continued, his voice low. I saw them. They're beautiful. They look like their father," she finished. Not coldly, just truthfully. "You never came looking. Not once. I didn't know how to," he admitted, "and I was afraid. Afraid I couldn't be enough. That I'd ruin their lives if I stepped in too late." She looked at him, eyes steady. "You left before you even tried." His chest tightened. He wanted to argue, wanted to defend himself, but he couldn't. She was right. "I've thought about you every day," he said. "Every single day." Lena looked away for a moment, as if the weight of those words was too heavy to carry in front of him. Then she said, quietly, "I didn't need you to think. I needed you to show up." He felt the truth of that cut through him like nothing else. "I want to meet them," he said suddenly, as if the words had been burning his tongue. She was quiet. "I don't want to confuse them," he added quickly. "I don't want to cause harm. But if there's any chance, any possibility, I'd like to try." Lena studied him for a long time, like she was looking for something deeper than what he said, something real. Then she said, "They know. Their story. I never lied to them. They've seen pictures. They know you chose a different path." He winced. "But they also know," she added gently, "that people can change." A flicker of hope stirred in his chest. She continued, "I don't know what this means yet. I'm not promising anything, but I'll tell them you're here, and if they want to meet you, we'll talk again." Tears gathered at the edge of his eyes, and he blinked them away quickly. "Thank you. I didn't do it for you," she said softly. "I did it for them, because they deserve answers." He nodded. "Of course, and Adam," she said, pausing, her voice softer now. "They don't need a millionaire. They need someone who shows up." Then she turned and walked away, graceful, strong, and utterly unforgettable. He stood there for a long time, watching her disappear into the crowd. The music returned, the voices, the noise of the gala. But for Adam, nothing would ever sound the same again. He couldn't sleep that night. Adam lay in his penthouse apartment, surrounded by everything a man could ever want: floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the glittering skyline, imported Italian leather furniture, a smart home system that responded to his voice. But none of it mattered, not anymore. Not after seeing Lena again. Not after seeing the daughters he had never held. Their faces haunted him. The way one had tilted her head at him, curiously, like she was trying to place a memory she didn't have. The way the other had clung to her mother's hand, trusting, innocent. Both girls, living, breathing proof of the life he walked away from. For years, he had believed success justified the sacrifices. He told himself love was a distraction, family a detour. He had traded dinners for deadlines, holidays for handshakes, and all the while, he pushed Lena to the farthest corners of his mind, convincing himself she would move on, that she probably had. But she hadn't just moved on, she had become someone extraordinary. He thought about her words at the gala: "They don't need a millionaire. They need someone who shows up." That line played in his head over and over, each time sharper than before. He had shown up too late, and yet, maybe not too late forever. The next morning, Adam stood by his office window, coffee in hand, trying to ground himself. Meetings piled up on his calendar, but none of them mattered. Not today. He called his assistant in. "Clear my schedule for the afternoon," he said. "Everything." She blinked. "Everything, sir." "Yes," he said firmly. "Everything, by noon." He found himself standing in front of a modest storefront tucked between a laundromat and a used bookstore. The sign above read "Little Nest Handmade" in soft pastel lettering. Through the window, he saw shelves filled with children's books, toys, and carefully sewn crafts, each item displayed with love. This was hers, her world. He hesitated before stepping in. A tiny bell chimed overhead. The scent of lavender and vanilla drifted through the air. A young woman behind the counter looked up. "Welcome. Can I help you?" "I'm here to see Lena," Adam said. Her eyes widened slightly. "You're Adam, aren't you?" He stiffened. "She mentioned me." The girl nodded. "She said you might come. She's in the back." Before he could respond, Lena appeared from the curtained doorway, wiping her hands on a towel. Her hair was up in a messy bun, strands falling into her face. She wore a plain blue apron dusted with bits of fabric and glitter, and still, she took his breath away. He expected tension, maybe even anger, but she simply said, "I figured you'd come." He nodded. "I couldn't not." Lena motioned for him to follow her into a quiet back room that doubled as a workspace. There were boxes of supplies, a small sewing machine, a corkboard filled with drawings, school notes, and photos. The twins' artwork was everywhere: stick figure families, stars, hearts. One picture showed 3 people holding hands, with the words "me, mommy," and someone written in a child's handwriting. His heart twisted. They're with a friend. "Today," Lena said quietly, watching him absorb the room. "I wanted to talk first before anything else." He turned to face her. "Thank you for not shutting me out." She leaned against the edge of the table. "I almost did. But then I thought, they'll grow up and ask questions. They deserve the chance to know you, if they choose to." Adam ran a hand through his hair. "I don't even know where to begin." "You already began," she said, "at the gala, when you didn't pretend we didn't exist." He looked at her, then really looked. She wasn't angry anymore. She was tired, yes, but she was also resilient. She had built something out of nothing. He had never admired anyone more in his life. "Can I ask about them?" he said hesitantly. "Their names, what they like, who they are." She gave a small smile. "Emma is the older twin by for minutes. She's loud, brave, and has this stubborn streak that reminds me of, well, you. She wants to be an astronaut this week, a fashion designer next week, always dreaming big. And the other, Avery," she said, softer now. "She's gentler, watches everything. She's a thinker, quiet, but fierce in her own way. She loves animals, paints when she thinks no one's watching, and asks 100 questions a day." He let those names settle in his chest. Emma, Avery, his daughters. He felt a lump form in his throat. "I want to know them. I want to make things right." Lena didn't speak for a moment. Then she said, "There's no making up for 6 years. There's only showing up now, consistently, gently. You don't get to come and go." "I know," he said. "I don't want to be a guest in their lives. I want to be a father. If they'll let me." She studied him for a long time, and then, reaching into her apron pocket, she pulled out 2 folded pieces of construction paper. "They made these after the gala," she said, handing them to him. "They didn't know who you were, just said the man in the suit looked lonely." His hands shook slightly as he unfolded the papers. Crayon drawings, one of a man standing beneath a bright yellow sun, another of a stick figure holding 2 hands. His eyes stung. "They don't hate you," Lena said quietly. "They don't know enough to." "I'd like to meet them," he whispered. If you're okay with it, I'll ask them tonight," she said. "If they say yes, we'll set up something casual, short, somewhere familiar, no pressure." "Thank you." She looked at him again, not with forgiveness, but with something close: recognition of the effort he was finally beginning to make. As he stepped out into the street, holding the drawings like they were made of glass. Adam felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not for success, not for applause, but for something real. He knew it wouldn't be easy. That trust, once broken, could take a lifetime to rebuild. But for the first time, he was willing to earn it. One moment, one meeting, one memory at a time. The park was quieter than usual that Saturday morning. The sky was a soft blue, streaked with sleepy clouds, and the wind moved gently through the leaves. Lena sat on a wooden bench near the playground, her heart beating a little faster than normal. Emma and Avery were climbing the jungle gym, laughing, racing each other to the top, completely unaware of what was about to happen. He was late. Lena checked her phone again, not because she was impatient, but because her nerves refused to settle. She hadn't slept much the night before. All the questions had kept her up. Would the girls feel confused? Would they sense something was off? Would they ask why he hadn't come sooner? She didn't know. What she did know deep in her bones was that they were ready, not because they understood everything, but because children often led with their hearts before their heads, and she trusted their hearts. Emma had been excited when Lena told her and Avery that someone important wanted to meet them. Is it a surprise? Emma had asked, bouncing on the couch. It's someone I used to know. Lena had said carefully, a long time ago. Someone I cared about, even when things got hard. Avery had been quieter, but after a while, she had said, "Is he nice?" Lena's voice had nearly cracked. "He's trying to be. That's why we'll go slow." Now, as Lena watched them swinging and laughing, she wondered how many moments like this he had missed. First steps, first words, first birthdays. The first time Emma climbed a tree by herself and announced she was the queen of the sky. The first time Avery whispered to a baby bird with a broken wing and cried when it flew away. So many little pieces of life he had never known. And then she saw him. Adam stood at the edge of the park, holding a small bag in one hand, dressed simply in jeans and a gray sweater, his hair a little wind-blown. He looked nothing like the cold CEO from years ago. He looked nervous when he saw her. Their eyes met again, and this time she nodded slightly, giving him permission to come closer. He walked slowly, almost cautiously, as if afraid he might scare the moment away. "They're over there," Lena said quietly, standing up beside him. He followed her gaze. The twins were now playing on the slide, taking turns pushing each other and giggling. "They look so happy," he murmured. "They are," she replied. "That doesn't mean they don't have questions or room for something more." Adam took a breath. "Thank you, again." Lena glanced at him. "This isn't about me anymore. It's about them." She raised her hand and called out, "Girls." The twins turned, spotted their mom, and ran over. Emma was first, of course, her wild ponytail bouncing behind her. Avery followed closely, eyes curious, expression thoughtful. "This is Adam," Lena said gently. "Remember I told you someone wanted to meet you?" Emma stared at him boldly. "Are you the surprise?" Adam knelt to their level. "I hope so," he said with a small smile. "I brought something, if that's okay." He opened the bag and pulled out two small stuffed animals. One was a fox with glasses, the other a lion with a cape. Emma gasped. "They're superheroes, kind of," Adam chuckled. "I saw them and thought they looked like someone brave and someone smart." He glanced at Lena, then back at the girls. "Like you two." Avery reached out and took the fox, examining its tiny stitched spectacles. Emma hugged the lion immediately. "Can we show them the playground?" Emma asked, turning to Lena. "If Adam wants to," she said, her tone calm. Adam nodded. "I'd love to." And just like that, they grabbed his hands, each girl taking one, and pulled him toward the swings. Lena watched from the bench, breath catching in her throat. It wasn't much, not yet, but it was a start. The next arm moved like a dream. He pushed them gently on the swings, listening to their stories about school and favorite animals. Emma made up a superhero backstory for her lion, and Adam played along like he'd known her forever. Avery asked him if he liked strawberry jam and why adults were always busy. He answered every question with patience. When the girls ran off to the sandbox, Lena finally approached him again. "They like you," she said, not with surprise, but with something like cautious hope. "I don't deserve that," Adam replied softly. But I'm grateful. She looked at him, really looked. You're different. I had to be, he said. 6 years ago, I thought winning meant never needing anyone. But I was wrong, completely wrong. Lena's eyes softened just slightly. This isn't going to be easy, Adam. I know, he said. But I'm not running anymore. She didn't respond, but he could see it in her expression. Something had shifted. Not forgiveness. Not yet, but the door wasn't shut. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, Emma came running back, tugging on his sleeve. Can you come next week too? Adam looked at Lena for permission. She gave a small nod. I'd love that, he said. Bring more animals, Avery called from the sandbox. Adam laughed. I'll see what I can do. They stayed until the sky turned golden and the first evening breeze swept through the trees. When Lena gathered the girls to leave, Emma reached out and hugged Adam around the waist. Avery stood quietly, then leaned into, resting her head briefly on his arm. After they walked away, Adam remained in the park, staring at the swing still gently swaying in the wind. He had just met his daughters, and already, he couldn't imagine his life without them. The letter sat on his desk for 2 days before Adam had the courage to finish it. He had started it. After the park, after the girls had hugged him goodbye, and after Lena had looked at him not with resentment, not with softness exactly, but with something in between. The kind of look people give when they're trying to decide whether to open a door or keep it locked. He couldn't stop thinking about that moment, and he couldn't stop thinking about the 2 little girls who had pulled him, quite literally, into their world of swings and sandcastles, as if they'd been waiting for him without even knowing it. Every hour since then, his thoughts had looped through the same questions. How do you make up for 6 years? How do you tell to children you chose something else before ever choosing them? You couldn't. There was no erasing the past. But maybe there was still time to write something new. He wrote the letter not for Lena, and not for himself. It was for Emma and Avery. A real beginning, something they could hold when he wasn't there, something they could keep when words might fail. Him in person. He signed it carefully, with all my heart, Adam, not Dad, not yet. That name, he'd decided, would only come from them when, or if, they ever chose to give it. And on Saturday morning, letter tucked inside a carefully wrapped picture book he'd found in a quiet corner of a local bookstore, Adam stood again. Outside the flower-painted door of Little Nest Handmade, Lena opened the door before he knocked. She gave him a quick look over, nodded, and stepped aside. They're in the back, finishing a school project, she said. They're excited to see you. They've been talking about lions and foxes all week. He smiled, a little nervously. Good. I brought something. Of course you did, she said, a trace of teasing warmth in her voice. Come on. The back room had changed since his last visit. The craft table was covered in paper and glue sticks, and both girls sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by drawings, stickers, and a small mountain of glitter. Adam, Emma yelled, leaping up and running to him. She didn't stop before wrapping her arms around his middle. Avery stood too, not quite as fast, but with a smile that reached her eyes. You came back, she said, like it had been a question lingering in her mind all week. I said I would, didn't I? Adam said, crouching to her level. Emma pointed to their project. We're making a superhero family. Mommy is the heart hero. Avery is the brain. I'm the rocket. She paused. You can be the map, so we don't get lost. Adam's throat tightened. I love that. He handed them the wrapped gift. Something small for today. They tore it open with the excitement only children can conjure. Inside was a picture book beautifully illustrated, pages glowing with color. The story was simple, about a lost explorer who wandered too far and spent years trying to find his way back home. When he finally did, he discovered that home had waited for him all along. Lena read it out loud as the girls sat close. Adam didn't speak. He just listened and watched. And when the story was done, he gave them the letter. He didn't ask Lena to read it. He didn't watch them open it. He simply placed it on the table and let it be later. While the girls painted superhero masks in the corner, Lena turned to him. That story, she said, wasn't really for them. It was for you. I think it's for all of us, he said. She studied him for a long moment. They're already letting you in. Don't waste it. "I won't," he said, quietly but firmly. "I can't." Lena nodded slowly. "Next weekend, there's a school event. A parent-child craft day. I'm volunteering. They've been asking if you can come." He felt the words land inside him like light after years of darkness. "I'd love to." "Good," she said. "But be prepared. Emma will expect you to wear glitter. And Avery doesn't like when people use the wrong glue." He smiled for real then. "I'll take notes." As he left the shop that day, the letter still unopened on the table, he didn't feel disappointed. He felt patient. He had time now. He had something to show up for. That night, Lena sat on the edge of her daughter's shared bed, tucking them in. Emma yawned and asked if Adam could come read the next book. Avery asked if he could see the drawing she'd started that afternoon. Lena smoothed their blankets and kissed their foreheads, heart full of complicated feelings. "You really like him?" She asked softly. Emma nodded without hesitation. "He listens good," Avery added. "He doesn't pretend." Lena turned off the light, eyes stinging just a little in the dark. Maybe they were right. Maybe people really could change. The auditorium was buzzing with soft laughter, folding chairs creaking beneath proud parents, and the occasional squeal of a child in costume running toward the wrong classroom door. Colorful streamers lined the walls, hand-painted signs hung. Overhead, Family Day celebration, where heroes are made. Adam stood near the back, hands clasped tightly behind him, a nervous rhythm pulsing through his chest. He wore jeans instead of his usual tailored suit. His white shirt sleeves were rolled up, a child-sized superhero cape tied crookedly around his neck. Emma's doing, of course. She insisted he couldn't be part of their hero team without it. He looked out over the rows of smiling adults and clapping children, then down at the 2 empty seats reserved in the second row. One for him, one for Lena. She hadn't arrived yet. He exhaled slowly, reminding himself this was not about control or plans or precision, things he used to live by. This was about showing up, being present, staying present. When the twins' teacher stepped up to the microphone and welcomed the room, he scanned the side entrance again. Then she appeared. Lena moved with that calm steadiness he remembered so well, holding the bags of supplies in one hand, her hair pulled up in a quick bun, a faint smile on her lips when she saw him. "You came early," she said, sliding into her seat beside him. "I didn't want to miss anything," Adam replied, trying not to let his nerves show. "You're doing great," she said, adjusting the crooked cape around his neck. "Even if you do look like a slightly confused magician." He laughed quietly. "I'll take it." The lights dimmed. The twins' class was next. When Emma and Avery walked on stage, something shifted in the room. They weren't just 2 kids in painted capes and glitter masks, they were luminous. Emma stood tall and bold at the front, gripping the small paper microphone she'd made in class. "Today, we want to tell you about our family," she said. Avery stepped forward next, more quietly, holding up a drawing, a hand-drawn house with 3 smiling stick figures beneath a big yellow sun. "This is us," she said. "Our mom is the strongest person we know. She makes magic out of pancakes and hugs and stories when we're sad. And this is our new person," Emma added, gesturing toward the 3rd stick figure. "He's been coming to see us, and we asked if maybe one day he could be our dad." A hush swept across the room like a gust of wind. Adam felt his breath catch in his throat. The twins turned their heads, scanning the crowd until they found him. Emma grinned and waved. "He's wearing a cape. It's crooked." "That's him." Laughter rippled through the audience. Lena reached for his hand without even realizing it. Avery held the mic this time. "We know dads don't always stay, and sometimes people leave, but sometimes they come back, and they try. And if they keep trying, maybe that makes them a hero too." That last line, that soft truth spoken from a child's mouth, undid something in him. The room erupted in applause, but Adam barely heard it. All he could hear was the pounding of his own heart. After the performance, the girls rushed off stage, racing into his arms like they'd done it 1,000 times before. "Did you like it?" Emma asked, clinging to his leg. "I loved it," Adam whispered, crouching to hug both girls tightly. More than anything, they handed him their drawing. which now had a new addition, a tiny gold star beside the third stick figure. Above it, Avery had written in careful block letters, "DAD maybe." He looked at Lena over their shoulders. Her eyes were bright, filled with something she hadn't let herself feel in years. Hope. "I don't want to rush this," Adam said softly. "But if you're okay with it, I'd like to earn that word." One day, Lena didn't answer with words. She reached out, placing her hand over his, still holding the girl's drawing. She gave it a small, reassuring squeeze. Later that afternoon, after crafts and cupcakes, Adam helped clean up, staying even after the other parents had gone. He stayed until the very last chair was folded, until the last marker cap was clicked on, and as they walked out together, Lena beside him, the girls skipping ahead, Adam realized something. He had spent his whole life chasing success, believing fulfillment came from titles, wealth, and recognition. But none of those things had ever made him feel what he felt now, walking beside a woman who had every reason not to trust him, and two daughters who gave their affection not because he earned it, but because he showed up. The stars were just beginning to peek through the clouds overhead. Emma twirled in front of him, her glittery cape catching the streetlights. "You know," she said, "we're working on a new family superhero comic. Guess what your name is?" Adam smiled. "What?" "Captain Second Chance," Lena let out. A small laugh, but Adam's eyes welled with quiet gratitude. "Second chances," he repeated. "I'll take that, every time." And this time, he wasn't going anywhere.